The first line I read made my stomach drop like a stone. It was not a threat. It was a small, private thing, a nickname he had never used with me. The diary lay behind a row of law books in Max's study. I was dusting, moving papers, when a corner of worn leather poked out. I pulled it free, wiped the dust, and the first page said, plain as a day, my Max, the only man who stayed. The handwriting curled like someone trying to hide a smile. My fingers went cold. I closed the book fast and held it to my chest like it could still be warm. For a long time, I just stood there and listened. The house was quiet. Max's laugh from the TV downstairs came faint, like a sound in another room. I wanted to throw the book away. I wanted to read every line. I wanted to burn it. I wanted to call him and say, "What is this?" But I could not make my voice move. My name is Victoria. He calls me V. I married Max because I believed him. I married him because he said words that were simple and true to me. I choose you. I will be yours. I thought the past was closed. I thought an end had been put on it. That is why the diary felt like a small, secret door that should never have been there. I remember the book on the shelf like a bruise. I remember the way the leather smelled, old perfume and a trace of smoke. The first line was not just line. It was proof that someone else had been in the quiet places of his life. It was proof he had a story I did not know. I read one page, then another. The handwriting was Kelly's, I thought. The name came to me like a bell. I had heard it before. Kelly, Max's first wife. He told me once they were done. He said they had grown apart. He said it in a calm way, as if they had shared an apartment and some good meals, and then left like people who finish a book. He said there was no anger left. He said he loved me now, and he said he would always be honest. But the diary was honest in another way. Each entry was small and raw. He touched my hand today, one note said. We talked like old times. Another said he promised to come tomorrow. The dates were recent, not old memories, not once upon a time. The pages smelled of coffee and tears. I felt a small beast of worry grow in my ribs. I put the book back and made myself breathe. I moved slowly. I wiped the shelf again. I put the book neatly between two law reports like it belonged. I could have left it there and never read another line. I could have told myself I was foolish, but I had already seen the first line. That small memory kept replaying. My Max. The words sat on my tongue and tasted like ash. I went downstairs to the kitchen. Max was at the sink, shirt rolled to the elbow, singing along to the radio. He had no idea his house held a map to other people's rooms. He chopped onions, smiled at me, and called, "V, are you hiding in libraries now?" I forced a laugh and kissed his cheek. "Just cleaning," I said. "Found one of your old books." He turned and grinned at me with the easy, soft look he used when he wanted me to trust him. "Old books are treasure," he said. "Like people. Keep the good ones." I held the diary words under my ribs like a secret and smiled. I whispered, "I do." Max and I met the way people meet now, at a small coffee place near the river, where the tables are old and the cups have names on them. He spilled his coffee on my shoe the first time. He apologized like it mattered. He helped me clean it off. His hands were big and careful. He had a laugh that made a room light up. He asked my name, I told him. He called me V, like he had been given a small gift. We dated slow. He learned the names of my sisters. He remembered my mother's birthday. He came to the market where I sold crafts sometimes and pretended to admire a purse while really watching me. The first time he said, "I love you." He said it in a small, honest voice, not like he was rehearsing. I believed him because I wanted to. Belief is warm. "Victoria," he said the night he asked me to marry him, "I have had things in my life before. We all do. But I promise you this. I choose you. I will be honest. I will stay." I remember the ring. It was not a show ring. It fit my finger and was smooth. He put it on like he was placing a small flag. He looked at me as if he had lined up the stars and picked me from them. Around us, the people we loved cheered. Kelly was never mentioned that night. Not by him. Not by anyone. I even asked once when we were drinking cheap wine and laughing late about childhood stories, "Was there anyone before me?" And he answered, "There was. It's done." He kissed my forehead and turned down the music. We built a life after that. We said quiet words. We did not shout. We made small promises to go to church on Sundays sometimes, to call each other at noon if one of us was stuck at work, to spend one Saturday a month at the market. Max was gentle. He could be funny in a way that made me laugh until my sides ached. He left sticky notes on the fridge that said things like, "Buy milk and don't forget to smile." It was silly and real, and I loved him for it. When people asked about his hospital records, his old marriage, he told small truths. Kelly had been someone once. They had tried. The marriage had not worked. She had left his house a long time ago. He said all the things a man says to settle your fears. "It's done," he said. "It's clean." I trusted him. That trust was not blind. I have eyes and I pay attention. But I also wanted the warm life he offered. I wanted someone who would stay. I wanted someone to hold up my bad days. He said he would. He swore fidelity. He said, "No more secrets." When I found the diary, the words of that day came back to me like fresh paint peeling. I went over the night we married. The white dress, my mother crying in a good way, Max's hands sweating as he put the ring on my finger. He looked like a man who meant it. He promised me the usual vows, in sickness and in health, to love and to cherish. He told everyone he would be honest. He promised me his whole self. Now, holding a page where someone else had called him my Max, in the present tense, it felt like someone had reached into a photograph and torn the corner. The picture did not show his face wrong. It just showed a hand drawn on the side, a ghost of something still living. That night, I lay awake. I thought about the times he came late and said, "Traffic." I thought about the perfume I had smelled once on his shirt and shrugged away. I thought about the way he had laughed with his friends when they spoke of their exes like old jokes. I remembered a voicemail I once heard in the car, a voice that said Max's name softly. I had not listened to it then. I had smiled and deleted it. People say we ignore small alarms because we are busy loving. The diary was a siren. It sang a quiet song that I could not sleep through. I did not know if Kelly was a villain or a woman stuck in a loop. I did not know if Max was wrong in the small or the big. I only knew that the thing I had trusted, his promise, had a crack in it. I could confront him then. I could slam the book on his chest and demand answers. I could pack my clothes and leave before he woke. But secrets are slippery. I did not want to be the woman who cries first or the woman who flies out in anger. I wanted to be the woman who knew the full story before I chose how to act. So I held the diary like a live coal. I read one more page. I learned a nickname. I learned a small meeting place. I learned a date that matched our last Sunday away. I learned that the past, it seemed, had not stayed in the past. I put the book back on the shelf and cleaned my hands of dust. I asked myself a small thing. Do I want to know everything, or do I want to live in the good lie? The question sat there like a pot about to boil. I had chosen a life with Max because he promised me honesty. Now the promise sat on the shelf like a coin that might be fake. I did not move yet. I still had choice. I still had time. I will tell you what I did next. I will tell you how I read the diary and how it led me to small discoveries. For now, remember the first line I read. My Max, the only man who stayed. It sounded like a love and a trap both at once. They say small things tell big stories. After the diary, every small thing felt loud. I began to see the house in a new light. Not soft, not safe, but full of small traps. The first doubt was a ribbon. I found it tucked in the pocket of Max's blazer, a thin pink ribbon with the scent of jasmine still on it. It should have been nothing, maybe a scrap from a gift, maybe nothing. But the ribbon fit with the diary pages in my head. My Max. I held the ribbon and felt my hands go cold. That morning, Max came out of the bathroom humming and saw me with the ribbon between my fingers. He smiled the way he always did, the kind of smile that made you want to let it go. Found something? He asked, leaning on the doorframe. Just this, I said. I put the ribbon into the pocket again. Must be from the store. You've lots of old things. He laughed and kissed my cheek. I always have old things. You know me. I wanted to ask. I wanted to say, who left this? But the words clung to the roof of my mouth. I said nothing. It felt easier to let small things be small. Then there were the late calls. I would be folding the laundry and the phone on his desk would light up with a number I did not know. He would answer quietly, then put the phone away, face blank. Work, he'd say when I asked. Just work. Once I found a receipt for coffee at the little cafe by the bridge, the cafe where Max liked to write. The receipt had a time that matched a diary note I had read. He came at 10. I set the receipt in a drawer and pretended not to see it. Later, when I asked about the cafe, he made a small joke and said he met a client. I laughed because it felt like the right thing to do. At night, he would come home late smelling like a perfume I did not own. He would make tea and sit beside me like nothing had changed. Traffic, he would say. Long meeting. He would slide the cups across, and I would take mine because the tea warmed my hands and his voice sounded like home. I told myself little lies. I said, maybe it's nothing. I said, maybe her name is on the book because she used to live here. I told my sister the same thing when she called and asked how married life was. It's good, I said. We have our days. One evening I sat on the sofa and listened while Max talked about work. He was telling a story about a man who lost his keys. He laughed and suddenly slipped into a voice that I did not know, soft and familiar. I didn't move. His phone buzzed on the table. He picked it up, and for a second his face changed. He read a message and smiled in a way he did not smile with me. He typed a reply, put the phone back, and continued the story like nothing had happened. After that, every small thing had teeth. The napkin on the kitchen chair with lipstick on it. A voicemail I once opened by mistake and heard a voice say his name softly. The dates on his calendar that read like an appointment list. Bridge, 10 p.m., bookshop, 8 p.m., clinic, 3 p.m. Max would tell me they were work notes or meetings with friends. I began to count the times his explanations did not fit with the diary entries. I started testing him in small ways. I would call him and say I needed him at home, then watch the way he moved when he thought I was alone. I watched his phone when he left it on the counter, but I never read it. I wanted to keep something of myself honest. Not to become a spy, but to understand the shape of what I had found. Still, I feared that the act of watching would make me the small, jealous wife I hated to be. The small lies kept piling like thin plates in a sink. Each one did not break me, but they chipped away at the trust I had folded so neatly into our life. The diary had been a door. The small things were the footsteps behind the door. They made me walk differently in my own home. The diary had moods. Some pages were soft and full of memory. Some pages were sharp and precise. The more I read, the more I could hear Kelly's voice in the ink. She was not a picture on a page. She was a woman who wrote like someone who kept her life in a box and opened it only when the nights were quiet. One morning, while Max was at work, I sat at the kitchen table with the diary and a cup of tea gone cold. I opened it to a random page and read, "He said he loved me today. He looked sorry afterward. He thinks I won't notice when I watch a quiet TV and count the cups. He always apologizes." The handwriting bent like someone who was trying not to cry and not to shout. Another page had lists, places and times. The old bookshop. The pier by the river. The clinic. Small notes. Napkin next to a date. Left packet by gate. Call at 9. These were not crumbs. They were a trail. I found a recording folded between two pages, a tiny tape that somehow still worked. I pressed play on my small player and heard two voices. One was Kelly, soft and tired. The other was Max, warm and easy. "Please," Kelly said on the recording. "We said we were done." "I know," Max answered. His voice was low and steady, the same voice that said, "I choose you." "I know. I didn't mean to be cruel. You called. You needed help." "Help again," Kelly said, voice small. "It's always help. I can't keep being the woman who needs help. People will think..." "People will not know," he said. "I will handle it." The recording made a small, hot ache grow in my chest. It sounded like a private room I had been kept out of. It sounded like promises traded for silence. I read an entry where Kelly wrote about a fight, not with him, but with herself. I told him to stop. I said, "If you are happy, let me go. If you are not, tell me the truth." He smiled and said, "I am not a good man at endings." I laughed, and then I cried. These pages did not scream. They rustled like dry leaves. Sometimes Kelly's hands on the page seemed kinder than Max's hands in the room. She wrote about small things, a cup he left in the sink, a song on the radio, a joke they shared. She wrote about the way he promised and how those promises changed shape when the day came. One entry cut through me. He told me, "I will tell her when it's safe." Safe? Whose safety? He used that word like a shield. He hid behind it. I read it twice and felt my own breath go shallow. The diary also had practical notes, money for a cab, names of people who might help. It read like a woman who knew how to manage a secret. That scared me more than the love notes. It meant this was not a moment, it was a pattern. I began to understand them both differently. Kelly was not only the woman who had loved him first, she was a person with needs and fears. Sometimes her pages were angry. Sometimes they were full of tenderness that made me want to throw the book into the bin. Once she wrote, "I know this is wrong. I know he has a new life, but I still want the small kindnesses I once had." The line made me want to cry for her and for myself at the same time. When Max came home that day and found me sitting there with the diary, he looked at it like a man who had lost something private. "You read it," he said quietly. "Yes," I said. "I read the pages." He sighed and sat opposite me. For the first time, he looked older. "Victoria, it's not what you think." "It looks like what I think," I said. I kept my voice steady. I did not want to give him the joy of my doubt sounding like a plea. He reached for my hand. "I will stop," he promised. He said it the way men say a thing to make the room still. "I will stop all of it. No more meetings, no more calls." "Words," I said. "I need action, Max. I need proof." He looked hurt, like a boy scolded. "Give me a chance," he whispered. "Please." I thought of the diary page where Kelly had written, "He said he will tell Victoria when it's safe." I thought of the ribbon. I thought of the napkin. I thought of the voice memo that had his voice promising the wrong thing to the wrong woman. I realized then that promises come easy in the dark. They sound brave there. "Okay," I said at last. "One chance, but not another secret." He kissed my hand like a child asking for more time. I let him. I wanted to believe. I wanted my house to be a place where music could come back without a shadow. That night, I placed the diary back on the shelf, but I kept a note in my purse, a list of dates and places where the diary showed meetings. I told myself I would watch, not because I wanted to hurt him, but because I needed to see if he would stand in front of the thing he promised me. The diary had spoken. Its voice was not only accusation, it was a record. It showed the small ways a life can split without people noticing. I knew, from the soft and the sharp notes on those pages, that the next steps would not be easy. I would not yet leave. I would not yet shout. I would wait and watch. The book sat like a watchword in the house. Truth can hide behind the nicest of voices. I would read more. I would keep my eyes open. I would see if he kept his promise to stop. The story had only just moved from the page into the room, and I was the one who would have to decide what to do with both. I started to act like a woman building a case. I did not want drama in the market or a scene at dinner. I wanted facts. The diary had given me names and dates. Now I would match those dates to things I could see. Receipts, messages, little evidence that did not disappear when he smiled. First, I made a list. I wrote the diary dates on a page. The night at the bridge, the Tuesday clinic, the Saturday bookstore. I kept the diary open on the table and a pen beside it. Each date I circled in red. I did not tell Max I was doing this. I pretended to be busy with work. I went through his jacket pockets when he left his coat on the hook. I found a receipt from the cafe by the bridge with a time stamped 10:15 at night. The date matched the diary line that said, "He came at 10." I folded the receipt and put it in my purse. My hand shook, but I tried not to look guilty. It felt like theft, and it felt like truth. Next, I checked the car. He kept a small box in the glove compartment for parking slips. Inside was a parking ticket from the riverfront area. Again, the same night. I began to see a trail like breadcrumbs. Each crumb made my stomach heavier. I looked at his phone when he was in the shower. I told myself this was for clarity, not spying. I scrolled the call log slowly. There were numbers I did not know. Some were short calls, 10 or 15 seconds. Others showed up and then disappeared. I noted them down in my list, cross-matching times with the diary. A call at 9:05 p.m. matched a diary note for Clinic 9. A short call at 10:12 p.m. matched the cafe time. I took screenshots and sent them to an email I opened for this purpose. I did not want to be caught with things on the phone. I also checked bank notifications. Max liked paying for dinners with his card. I asked to use his card once, and he left it in the kitchen. There was a charge at a small health clinic on a date that matched a diary entry. Clinic visit. It was not proof of a meeting. but it was a step. The ledger lines in the message were cold and simple. Clinic, 3,500s. The number matched the note. I printed that message. I became a woman with a folder. One night when Max left, I followed at a distance in my car. I told myself I would not make a scene. I drove slow behind him and watched him stop near the pier. He stepped out, walked to a bench, and sat. A figure came from the shadow and sat beside him with a small bag. They spoke quietly. My phone sat on my lap, and I held it like an ugly thing. I watched them for a long time. They laughed together once, a sound I hated like sugar that turned into salt. I left before they left. I did not want to be the woman who causes a fight in the dark. That week, I watched him closely, but not with a spy's fury. I kept the diary and the folder in a box I could reach. I checked the blocked numbers. For 2 days, his phone was quiet. On the third day, his phone rang, and he stepped outside. I could see him through the window, pacing, his face wet with the rain that had started. He hung up and came back in slowly. "He called me," he said. "Kelly called. I told her I couldn't keep doing this. I told her I would meet her with you on Saturday." "Did she agree?" I asked. "She said yes. She said she was tired too." He sounded small. "She asked if I was sure." "I am sure," I lied, because I wanted to be brave even if I was not. On Friday night, he came to bed early. He held my hand and whispered, "I'm sorry." For the first time, I did not let the words roll into my heart like warm water. I held them in my palm like a stone. I wanted more than sorry. I wanted change. Kelly was already there when we arrived. She stood when we walked up and sat like a woman who had rehearsed this meeting in her head 1,000 times. We did not start with anger. For a moment, there was only the sound of the water and a man selling suya a few meters away. People walked past us and did not know this bench would change things. I put the diary on my lap and opened it to a page I had marked. "I want to hear everything from you," I said to Max. "No small stories, no safe words." He swallowed. "Okay," he said. His voice was small. "I will tell you everything I can." Kelly looked at him like she was waiting for a wound to speak. "I want him to speak the truth," she said quietly. Max drew a long breath. He began slowly, the way someone reads a long, hard letter aloud. "I loved Kelly first," he said. "We married young. We tried. It fell apart for reasons that were not simple. I left because I thought a separation would make everything easier. But when she called years later, when she needed help, I met her. I told myself I would help, that it was only a few times. I knew I should tell you. I told myself I would tell you later. I told myself it would be easier if I kept it from you." He stopped and looked at me. I know that sounds weak. He wiped his face with the back of his hand. "I lied to you. I lied because I was selfish. I wanted to be seen as a man who fixes things, who helps, and still has a clean life. I was afraid of my mother. She would not have understood that helping an ex might be a good thing. She would have told me to cut her off or reject me. I was afraid of losing what I had built with you, so I hid." The words were plain. They were not polished. They landed like stones. Kelly's face was open and tired. "He left the diary with me in a box once," she said. "I started writing because I was afraid of losing the small details. I wanted to remember why I stayed and why I left. I never meant for you to find it. I loved him, yes, but I also wanted him to be honest. I kept asking him to stop, to tell you. He kept saying, when it's safe. But what is safe when it hides a life?" I held the diary in my hands and felt its leather bite. "Why did you promise me forever?" I asked Max. "When you still took her calls." He stared at his hands. "Because when I am with you, I feel a kind of peace I never had before. With you, I wanted a different life. But old things pulled me back." He looked up, and for the first time I saw real shame on his face. "I wanted both." "That is the truth." "You wanted both," I repeated. The line tasted like sour milk. "You wanted both, and so you gave us both fragments." Kelly put her hand over her face and then pulled it back like a woman who had practiced tears until the shape was right. "I am not proud," she said. "I thought he would be brave. I thought he would tell you. I kept waiting for him to say your name and mean it in the same way he said mine. He never did in public. He never chose the hard thing." Max tried to explain things that might make him look less guilty. About a sick sister, about money troubles, about loneliness. The reasons rolled out one after another like clothes from a cupboard. They did not cover the truth. They only made soft sounds. "Victoria," Kelly said suddenly, and the tone in her voice cut clean. "Do you want him? Do you want the man who will keep a diary of his promises to you and his promises to me? Do you want the man who will keep both of you half-loved?" The question struck a chord inside me I had not expected. For a second, I thought of the market mornings, our little rituals, the stupid sticky notes he left on the fridge. For a second, I thought of his laugh that used to make me forget my tiredness. I felt the pull of the life we'd built and also the pull of my dignity. "No," I said. The word came out small at first, and then louder. "I want honesty." Kelly nodded. "I want the same." Max's shoulders sagged like a man who had been carrying a heavy bag for too long. "I will be honest," he said. "I will stop meeting her without you. I will tell my mother. I will stop the small lies." He stood up, hand shaking, and he spoke slowly, precisely. "Kelly, I will not come to meet you alone again. I will not take napkins, or call you late at night, or keep our meetings secret. I will not promise things that will hurt Victoria. If you need help, we will arrange it openly with Victoria. I will tell my mother. I will live in the truth." He said the words into the open air, and for a moment they landed like a promise. Kelly exhaled like a woman who had been holding her breath for years. "If you break this," she said to him, "I will not write about it anymore. I will leave. I will stop clinging to you. But I will not let you hide behind safe when it is a cover for cowardice." Max looked at me like a man who had just crossed a river and found land wet under his feet. "I will do the things you asked," he said. "I will show you proof. I will let you see the logs. I will explain to anyone who needs to know. I will stand in the truth." I wanted to be gentle. I wanted to forgive. But a part of me was tired of promises. "You will have to earn that," I said. "I will not just say yes. I will watch. I will also make choices if you fail." He nodded, and Kelly stood. "I do not want to be part of your fight," she said to me. "If you want him, keep him. If you do not, then let us both walk away without tearing each other down." She looked like someone making peace with a wound. We hugged oddly, all three of us. Not lovers, but survivors of the same small war. After that day, things changed, but not like a switch. Max kept his word for a time. He blocked numbers and showed me the call logs. He invited his mother to tea and told her what had happened. She wept and then sat silent and stern. He met Kelly with me present in the living room and told her, in my presence, the same things he had told us on the bench. Kelly took my hand, and we spoke like two women who had discovered something painful and ugly, and now had to decide what to do with it. In the weeks that followed, there were two paths open. One path led toward repair. Max went to counseling. He stopped the secret meetings. He worked to be honest, even when honesty made him small. We began to put small things back together. The sticky notes on the fridge, the market mornings, the quiet cups of tea. But the glue was not as fast as before. Trust takes time. It does not come back on its own. In the end, the diary stayed where it was for a long time on my shelf. I read it sometimes, not to torture myself, but to remember the woman who kept notes to survive. I wrote in my own diary, too, small lines about market days, about how I learned to cook a new stew, about the way Max apologized with his whole body. Writing felt like breathing. I do not know whether Max and I will last forever. I do not know if honesty will win every day. What I know is this: when a hidden life is found, it does not go away with a single talk. It takes proof, time, and a willingness to change. It takes two people who will choose hard things instead of safe lies. It takes the woman who found a diary picking up her life and deciding, not with fireworks, but with small, steady steps, who she wants to be.